low and they have lost their menstrual cycle. I also help a lot of women who are struggling with what we call diminished ovarian reserve. So maybe that's happened to them earlier in life, or maybe they've reached kind of 40, 41, 42 and older, and they want to have a baby, but they are struggling with egg reserve. I specialise in PCOS and endometriosis. I love talking about menstrual cycles and cervical mucus and all the things that a lot of people don't like talking about. And I have the most rewarding job ever because I get to help women have babies and make their dreams come true.
Do you know, that's one of the things I love about you almost more than anything else is nothing is off the table. Like part of the reason why I'm doing these lives, these podcasts in the first place is because there isn't enough actual real talk out there. You know, people are still scared. People are scared to talk about mental health. They're scared to talk about anything that's remotely taboo or that you wouldn't, you know, bring up around the dinner table, those type of conversations. That's what I love about you. You can literally talk about anything without cringing into a small hole in the corner.
Oh, I love it. Like whatever would make other people cringe, I'm like, right, let's get into it. Let's do it. But like that's I don't think there's any room in this world for taboos when it comes to fertility at all. When it comes to menstrual cycles, when it comes to terminations, when it comes to miscarriages. I worked in menopause. You were there at the time when the Davina phenomenon happened, and suddenly everyone was talking about menopause. And that's my dream for fertility. My dream is that fertility is spoke about like a headache or any other illness and very real thing that should have no shame associated with it at all. It should just be a condition that we discuss because that's the only way to remove that taboo. And I'm probably jumping way ahead here, Helen, but you know how excited I get when I talk about fertility. But that's one of the biggest things that women struggle with is the isolation, feelings of absolute isolation. They don't want to bother their partner with it. Their mum doesn't understand. They feel like they're letting their mum down. So they just struggle on their own. And then they believe that this is them, that they are the problem. And that can just grow arms and legs, as you've seen.
Absolutely. And then the mind monkeys take over, and because they're not sharing and because they're not discussing it with pretty much anyone, the negative thoughts take over, don't they? And then that builds and builds, and it's like a horribleness inside because they don't share. And part of what
Sounds
you
real,
do,
doesn't it?
yeah, part of what you do
Sounds
is
so
provide
real.
that space, isn't it? That you can
Yeah.
share. I mean, we've worked together. Like I work with Claire on the mental health side of this, and what we see a lot of is guilt, don't we? Guilt, the guilty feelings that people have are huge, and that alone needs to be spoken about more because your
Yeah.
brain will go to that negative space. If there's any gap in the story in your mind, your brain is going to fill it, and usually with stuff that's not true.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But if you sit there with it for a few days, it becomes reality and you don't question it anymore. And then it just adds, it joins it grows arms and legs. So it really bothers me working in the industry that in so many countries and so many communities, fertility is still very much thought of as a woman's problem. So, and that's where so much of the testing starts, despite it being significantly easier to check a man's fertility. It's usually the woman that gets the ball rolling, and that's where the kind of testing will start. But I think that speaks volumes about what happens next and the guilt that you've just talked about. There's an assumption, a deep rooted assumption that it's a women's problem. So if it is a problem, then it must be her fault. And people don't say that out loud, but that's an assumption that people just carry around without even knowing that they've got it. And then women who are longing for this baby, disassociating from their body, losing their libido, losing their appetite, or stress eating, all of the other mental health impact issues that come with it. They think it's their fault. And then they start to hate themselves, and it's just fucking heartbreaking, frankly.
So sad. It's so sad because sometimes by the time people get involved with us and with your business, like there's so much damage already done, isn't there? You know, they
So much
poor
to unpick.
people. Yeah, and it does. It takes quite a bit of unpicking sometimes to get that back to a space where a person can actually start having faith in themselves again, start loving themselves again, knowing that, you know, actually it's that encouragement of, is what you're telling yourself actually based on fact? Is it reasonable? You know, and getting people to dive in and ask these questions. This is not all about the physicality of things. This is, I mean, this is why I'm doing this. A lot of it's up here.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I've totally hijacked your life, by the way. Is it worth going back a little bit and talking about how we know each other and what we do together?
I wanted you to hijack my life. You are welcome to hijack my life anytime you like. But yeah, let's give a bit of background because it's clearly obvious that we know each other quite well. So, um, I will come in by saying that Claire coached me when I was struggling on my own, not fertility, I must add. It was when Claire was in menopause at the time, and I was in a bit of a bad place. Needed to lose weight, needed to gain some confidence, needed to get fitter. So Claire kindly coached me through that. I did 3 months coaching with Claire, and then I'll let you take over. You can say where you
Yeah,
went
so
from there.
your results were absolutely, absolutely phenomenal. But that's obviously a testament to the work that you put in. So we worked together during COVID when gyms were opening, then closing, and opening, then closing. And with the whole kind of body confidence side of things, I'm always very quick to stress that 80% of any results are going to come from nutrition. But you
Mhm.
were clear from the start, it wasn't about just losing body fat. You wanted to be strong. You wanted to be that bitch, which I love when clients do that. So you were ready to get into the gym. You were ready to start lifting. A lot of menopause clients aren't really bothered about that at all. And you took to it like that. Like you were in, your body started to react. And then the gyms closed, and that was a big, big downer for you. And like many people will probably remember this scramble to try and find equipment to train at home. People were paying silly money for like a resistance band. We were using towels behind doors to do pull-ups and stuff like that. But you did it. You did it, and you went from probably consuming more alcohol than you were happy with to like you hardly drink at all now, don't you?
I haven't had a drop for 6 months.
6 months. And would you care to share what you were consuming?
Not really. Far too bloody
Fair
much.
enough.
I went from period to when I worked with you. I think in total I did like 9 months,
Huh?
more than 9 months without a drink, and then it creep back into it. It'd be like a special occasion, or
Mhm.
you know, it'd be sunny, or you know, oh, we have to celebrate the sun because it doesn't happen very often.
Absolutely. We live in the
And
north.
then and then it started to creep back up, never to where it was before, but like I was just like, oh man, this is just, I'm not being as productive as I'd like to be, and I think then pushing my own business and wanting to be able to help other people,
Mhm.
didn't want to be that person who sat there and said, well, you might want to try doing this, knowing that I'm not doing it myself. I didn't want to be one of them people. So I thought, right, we're getting divorced. So alcohol
I
and I
think
got
as your
divorced.
confidence grew, your ambition grew as well because you came, you basically wanted to get strong, you wanted to feel better about yourself. And I remember hearing about you before I met you, and even just the whole taking the leap to invest in yourself was a big confidence issue for you. And then by the time we had worked together for 12 weeks, you had the confidence to put to me that you wanted to work in coaching and you wanted to turn around what you do? And I was like, yes, yes. And I spoke to Emma, who we're both still very close with, and I was like, we need to get Helen involved here. Like Helen can add so much, because obviously I had learned so much about your mental health expertise in between. And when the Fertility Mentor was burst, one of the first phone calls I made was, of course, Helen, I need you. I need you. So you work with all of my clients, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
All and it's such a good combination with the nutrition side of things, working really closely with the mental health side of things. It's absolutely a winning formula, because you cannot help your body without helping your mind, and you cannot help your mind without helping your body, and it's the two together is not something that one person on their own can have enough expertise to do everything. I think collaboration is the key to like true success, isn't it? For
Absolutely.
and I think that's where um a lot of coaches in the industry go wrong, by thinking they can do it all themselves.
Yeah.
And actually, when you combine forces with someone who knows slightly more than you on a set topic, then you're making yourself and your brand way more powerful.
Yeah. And I think one of the big things I bring to my clients is I'm massive on mindset coaching, and a lot of people, and it's not unreasonable, will confuse mindset with mental health, but they are very much not the same thing. I can coach people on, how to build habits, how they think about themselves, but when it comes to things like grieving for pregnancies that they've lost, or indeed grieving for lives that they thought they would be living by now, that's very much mental health, and I can get involved with that. But let's be real here. As far as I'm concerned, our coaching, the Fertility Mentor, is the absolute best in the business. So why would I not want to offer the absolute best mental health coaching in the business as well? And it helps just to have someone else as well. It helps to, like, we don't bring you in with our clients until I think week 9.
Mm.
So I'll do all of the nutrition stuff, I'll do a lot of the fitness stuff, mindset stuff, but you don't actually come in until week 9. And then that's when you start doing your magic, isn't it? Your unpicking.
What was it somebody said one day? Because we do like weekly live sessions, don't we, where people can come in and ask their questions that they need to ask and stuff. And one of the girls had said about one of the weekly calls, oh yeah, Helen makes you do the hard stuff.
You get to be the bad
But
guy.
she makes you do the hard stuff.
And you don't give up until they've done it.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
That's
not.
where you get the results. Do the hard stuff, but do the hard stuff with your hand being held. You never feel alone.
Yeah.
It's key. It's key. Absolute key. With my business at the moment, there's like really big things coming in a couple of months' time, and one of the things that because I work a lot with people with neurodiversity, so it can be an adult that's got ADHD that I work with directly, or it can be a family with children with ADHD or any neurodiversity challenges that have challenges, say, in the education system or in the health system, or just generally with behaviour at home, because like kids display differently in school than they do at home and stuff like that. So I work with a range of that. But going back to what we said about us having our own specialist areas, one of the things that I am doing to bring into I want it to be massive. I want everybody to know about it, and it's collaborating with a bank of other professionals. So I will have a support hub. So it's not going to be a woe is me, let's go to this group and have a complain about things this week. This is going to be a come and be in this membership if you want your life to be better. It's not going to be a moaning platform. And I've got various different specialists in different areas that aren't mine. So I've got my specialisms, but I'm not a speech and language therapist. So I've gone out and found a speech and language therapist who can come in and give speech and language advice. I'm not a sleep specialist. Well, I can cover sleep. I'm not a specialist in it. So I've gone and found a sleep specialist, autism sleep specialist, who can give the advice on those types of things. And various other oral hygiene is another massive thing for parents with neurodiverse children, to try and get them to brush their teeth or have a wash and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that I am not the specialist in those areas, I have gone out and I have sourced the specialists in this areas, just like you came and sourced me. I've
Mm-hmm.
done the same. So I found the best people to come, and it is so hard to get in front of a speech and language therapist or an educational psychologist. It is so hard to do that. So for me to be able to provide those people to answer questions and be there for support, this is what my business is all about. Just like you collaborate with me, I'm collaborating with all of the other people in the um, neurodiversity
Mm-hmm.
space, to be able to provide an umbrella for people to come in and go, right, I've got everything I need here. That's my plan.
It's going to be very, 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 it'll be in high.
Oh, you went crackly then.
What?
I lost you then for a second.
Oh, sorry, darling. I
No,
think maybe
you're all
just a wee internet delay.
right.
Are we back?
We are back. So, and I think that it's the key, isn't it? Collaboration's the key. Talking is the key. Communication is the key. Like, the more we do this, the more voices are heard, the more we can talk about the things that people don't talk about.
Yeah, totally.
Get the message out there. 100%. So, let me just. Is there anything you want to talk about that people can, how they can find you, things like that? My
Sure,
man.
sure. I like to think I'm everywhere, but I'm probably not as much as I should be. So, my Instagram handle is Fertility Mentor, and any information that people might need about me is on my website, which is thefertilitymentor.org.uk. So I'm really, really excited that in the next few weeks, I'm going to be launching a completely free course, which is a 5-day fertility challenge. And that's going to be focusing on nutrition, mindset, supplements, just all of the things, the questions that we get asked every day. I'm going to make that available completely free and completely on demand. So it's basically going to be share an email address and you will get daily videos, masterclasses, workbooks, accountability challenges sent to you. And I'm really excited about it actually. You'll remember we used to charge for this. And we
Mm-hmm.
have many, many women who found us through doing the challenge who now have babies. So it
Yeah.
absolutely rocks my world. But one of the big things, I mean, I'm very much from a working class background. I was born during the miners' strike. I was a miners' baby. I am so keen to democratize fertility information. I work with women all over the world. I work with very wealthy women, but I also work with women who do not have access to hospitals, doctors, medicine, because they literally cannot pay for it. And while I'm very, very quick to stress that I'm not medically qualified, I don't pretend to be, I'm a nutritionist and a coach. I want this information to be available to everyone. And I'm actually really, really proud because this has been 6 months in the making and at not small expense at my side to make all of this. You know what I'm like with tech, Helen. So I'm absolutely thrilled to know that this is going to be out there and it's going to be available to anyone and it's going to be valuable to anyone, whether they've got, money to spend on a gynecologist, on fertility treatment, on IVF, or even just a GP appointment. We literally work with women who do not have enough money to go see their doctor. Not based here in the UK, of course, we work with women all over the world. So making that education and that kind of, yeah, just giving that empowerment, it means an awful lot to me. And that's going to be ready in the next couple of weeks.
Oh
So
my
I
God.
can't wait
So
for that.
excited. Do you know one of the things that amazed me is that what we hear over and over again is that ladies struggle with, they'll get so many months in and they'll think, oh, why is it not happening? Why is it not happening? And it's a trip to the doctor and then a put on a waiting list and all of these things. Nobody actually when they go down to the NHS route or whatever, in whatever country they are or whatever they access, nobody speaks about how they can affect their fertility through what they eat and how they look after their bodies. No one talks about egg quality from a nutritional perspective until you. Well, I'm sure there's other people that do talk about it, but how many of the clients that you work with have never thought about improving their egg quality through their diet? It just doesn't get
Wild.
spoken about.
And there's studies that indicate that kind of participating in mind body programs can actually improve outcomes by up to 50%. And that's like conducted by Dr. Alice Domer. Very, very real studies done by Harvard University. It's not just, two people in a room making up studies. But I don't know, like, on one hand, it's quite easy to get annoyed that this information isn't so available to everyone. But also, if you think about the pressure the NHS is under, they have, like, what is it, 8-minute appointments now? They just do not have time, and everybody's so streamlined. Like, this is the conversation I'm going to have with this person. I'm going to have this conversation with this person. There's just so much pressure. I spent a long time trying to get in touch with many IVF clinics to ask if there was any way that I could make information available freely to their clients, just so that they can understand the power of egg quality, nutrition, balancing their hormones in terms of their outcomes. So far, to be fair, I've had some really good success with Now Fertility. They've had me on doing a few lives and a few blogs, and they're really receptive to it. But they're the only ones that I've known so far that have actually taken me up on it,
That's
which I
sad.
think is quite strange.
But then
Yeah,
that goes back to the lack of collaboration thing, doesn't it? People get scared to, like,
that's kind of,
yeah, it's mine, and I'm not going to share it with anyone. Like, that's not going to help people ultimately.
yeah, no, that's it's very much a kind of a place of fear as opposed to let's help people. Let's actually just get this information out there. Because going right back to mental health, one of the main things that they struggle with is this feeling of absolute hopelessness and lack of influence. I can do nothing about this. I don't know what doctor I'm going to see. I don't know when I'm going to see them. I need to go home and phone them back when my menstrual cycle arrives, which I might not have any, I might not, if you've got PCOS, you've got no idea when your menstrual cycle is going to arrive. I need to wait for this. I need to wait for this. There's absolutely fuck all I can do. But that's not the case. And as soon as they feel like they're taking control and they can say, yes, I have actually had my protein today. Yes, I have actually done a bit of research into the supplements I'm taking, and I'm not just buying all the shit because TikTok told me to. I'm buying specific supplements for specific reasons. Yes, I know I'm ovulating. I'm about to ovulate because I've got the all important cervical mucus that we always love talking about. They know, they understand, they feel in control, and that makes them more likely to want to eat a healthy meal the next time. It makes them more likely to want to try naturally. How many women do we work with that just have absolutely no libido at all because they've fallen out of love with their body? They're so highly stressed. Their cortisol is ringing all the time. The last thing they want to do is have sexual intercourse, but they're desperate for a baby. Now, is that not the ultimate head fuck?
It's crazy.
It's brutal. I get really excited when I talk about these things. You're such a calm.
You are just, you're the ultimate of passionate. You are just like, I could just sit back
It's
and
so
just
funny when
you do it, lovely.
the rare occasion when we're on coaching calls at the same time, you've got me giving it, and you're just like, yeah, what do you think
We're like
about
yin and yang.
that?
We're like yin and yang, aren't we? Oh, Louis, see, this is why it works so well. You've got to have a bit of everything. You've got to have all these personalities all mixed up in one.
The yin and the yang. I can't even remember how I started talking about that. I can't remember what the question was, but I suppose it's
This is
another
what we do.
example of.
And I quite openly said before we came on this, like quite openly said to Claire, like we said, is there a format? And I'm like, no, do you know what? I don't want formatted podcasts. I don't want formatted lives. I don't want to sit here and go answer this question and answer that question and answer the other question, because the ultimate of this is just to be real. And I think when you watch someone and you can see that they're genuine and you can see that they're actually mentally able to be a bit vulnerable, which is another issue altogether,
Mm-hmm.
then you're more likely to sit up and go, I like that person, or that person is making sense. You know, you make a better attachment with those people when they communicate in a more authentic way. I don't need to sit here and fire off a load of questions to you, because we cover everything anyway, and that's how it should be.
And if we don't, anyone watching this can just ask questions and we will answer them.
100%, 100%. Put in message in the socials, do whatever. If there's any questions at all, anything that you even remotely think we might be able to help you with, I am
This is what we live for.
absolutely.
So
Share
can I
now out.
ask you then, and I should have asked you this before without naming any names, I've been very careful not to name any names. What's your kind of favourite example of a turnaround you've helped a fertility client with?
Oh God, that's
I should
so
have sent
hard.
this to you to think about earlier, but I wanted to put you on the spot. Because you've had a few recently where they've actually messaged you and came out and said, I just want you to know that this is the change you've brought about for me.
Uh, I think a big one for me is getting on top of control freakery.
Yeah.
So like that's a big thing. So in the kind of failure mindset, the guilt and shame mindset, there's a lot of, I mean, as females we tend to be a bit control freakery anyway. We like things to be a certain way. But actually being able to take a person who is ultimate control freak and switch them around to thinking differently about things, and actually being able to lean into the fact that you don't have to control absolutely everything, because I think there's a direct link between that and having too much cortisol in your system. And when you can just take your foot off the accelerator a little bit and spend some time just actually making a connection properly with what's going on in your mind, you don't actually need to do that. Don't need to control every nth degree. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really proud that I was able to take a person who literally wanted to control every single second of their day and help to put them in a mental position where they were comfortable and not consistently stressed all the time, who now has baby, which is fabulous.
And she's a wee stunner. I know exactly who you're talking about just from that description. She's gorgeous. She's our mum's double. You reminded me of something as well that's most of our clients have in common. It's quite uncommon for someone to come and work with us unless they are a type A personality. And I
Mm.
think they find us, we find them. The algorithm definitely helps. But I think there's something about being type A that makes it especially hard to deal with infertility. And I think that's that control freakery that you've talked about there. They are not practiced at not being in control, and they are not practiced at all at things not going well for them. If things don't go well, they make a new plan and they work twice as hard and it goes well. But with something like infertility, when nobody literally knows exactly what's going on in there, that hamster wheel can start going at 100 miles an hour 24/7, and they don't know how to come off of it. They don't know how to slow it down because all they know is work hard, play hard until you get to the goal. Work hard, play hard until you get to the goal. They don't know step back. They can't. They just don't know how.
Absolutely. And usually the people least able to ask for help because
Yeah.
it's too much of a sign of weakness. They can't control that. Another thing that they can't control. So asking for
Well,
help
yeah,
is
asking for help with fertility is very difficult anyway. And like this is something else that another thing I got in my second soapbox about. Very often I'll work with women and we always have our first calls usually about an hour and it's always completely free because in real life not everyone's going to be a good fit to work with us. So the first conversation is always free. I always say to them, you can come along, tell me everything, and if I don't think that we're going to be a good fit, I'll still give you advice and I'll still give you referrals and whatnot.
mm,
Now what really boils my piss though is when I speak to women, the vibe is there and they are really keen and they come back to me and says to me something like, my husband doesn't want me to do it. My husband doesn't think this is a good idea. And that actually breaks me because I can tell you right now that woman is probably so frustrated that her husband doesn't know half of what she's going through,
mm,
but he doesn't want someone else in the mix talking about their sex life,
mm,
their fertility journey. And that can be a really, really hard one to swallow as well.
yeah,
It's a total diversion. Sorry, I took it off in another tangent. But if
yeah,
anyone here is watching this and they feel like they can't talk to their partners, that's not okay. That's not normal. And
mm,
know that we've got lots of free resources, free spaces that you can use to come and just let
mm.
loose and talk about your journey.
All comes back to safety. Everything.
Mm.
If your basic needs are not being met, then you can't thrive. And it all comes back to feeling safe. And that's the one thing you do really well. Because I have never known a client in your space that has not been able to talk openly. And I think to that means that safety element has to be satisfied. So a person to talk on the level that your clients talk on have to
Mm-hmm.
feel safe. And that's one
Yeah.
thing that you do. You do lots of things exceptionally well, but you provide
Yeah.
that space where a person can say whatever they want and know that there's
First
no
thing I
judgment.
say to everyone is like there's zero judgment here. If
Mm,
you've had terminations, if you've had STIs, if you took drugs in Ibiza, fucking hell, there's every chance. I've done all of these things as well, and there's every chance the rest of my clients have done it 20 times. If you're struggling to have a baby, especially if you're in your late 30s, early 40s, you don't have time for shame. You don't have time for guilt. I don't have time for you to have shame or guilt about telling me stuff. There's no room for it. Just get it out there. It's in the past.
mm.
Let's just move
The more
on.
you hang on, the longer the time goes by when you could
Yeah.
be working effectively on it.
Making improvements.
Mm,
And I think chemistry is a big thing as well. And that's another reason they're kind of like that long first consultation is so necessary because if they don't vibe with me, they're not going to go into the detail. Keep coming back to cervical mucus. I'm sorry, I was so immature today, but they're not going to go into that level of detail. Like we get into body temperatures every morning. We are tracking every part of their menstrual cycle. We are tracking how often they're having intercourse. The things that you and I know about our clients. So the chemistry needs to be there and the trust needs to be there as well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Couldn't. Do you know what we could say? We could literally talk all day. This is crazy. I'm like, I promise that I'm not going to let
Baby,
any of
we
these
can
things go
talk
over half
all
an hour.
night. We can't have it live without me singing.
It wouldn't be the same. Well, sadly, we are going to have to leave it there. Like,
Yeah,
how did that time just go so quickly? But I hope
it's
that
always a pleasure, my darling. And you've
what
got goal
we'll get,
setting with the girls tonight in our group.
we have goal setting, goal
Yeah.
setting. It's so
If any
oh,
of our girls are
good.
watching this, you better be there.
You better have.
Oh, is that a wee dog?
This is Willow. This is Willow, the wonder dog. She's training to be a
She's been
therapy
there the
dog.
whole time.
Yes, she's very, very good.
Oh,
I've not quite finished yet, darling. In a minute.
right, let's get to Buggery. Let's go on with our days. Thank you,
Absolutely.
anyone who's watching this. Thank you, Helen.
I'll get everything shared on all of the socials, and please, everybody, share out to anyone who they think might need to hear this today. We love you all, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching. See you later. Bye.